Welcome to Stormwatch by Grey Noise Intelligence. Each week, we cover the latest info on what's happening at Grey Noise, Census, Vulncheck, and Run Zero. I keep capitalizing the R. I got to stop doing that. Take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, toss out some expert opinions, and drop the occasional conspiracy theory. All right, so today we're doing it. We have been dancing, tiptoeing, shuffling around a certain topic for a bunch of weeks, but today we have to talk about Kev. I mean, really, we're going to talk about a look at all the tumultuous state of Gov cyber, not just Kev and CISA. And we're going to do so and try not to get each of us locked up by the feds later. And we're also going to, if we have time, if we manage to get to it, I don't know if we will, we're going to try to revisit the telecom hacks that we covered last year. You all might remember that. Like, it's kind of easy to forget that given Wave's hands around, because there's been a new development that's kind of interesting, and we just want to keep everybody abreast of what's going on. And our respective benevolent overlords have been busy blogging, and we will be covering the latest updates from all of us. And I have a question for Todd as we in that segment as well too. So it's going to be a pretty cool episode. Before we get to the highs and lows, you might be noticing there are only 3 circles. That is because there's still some people out on sick leave, and Glenn, that's Glenn right now. The people that can't see that, this is a very pink glass with, I don't know what's crusted on the top of it with a lime.
It's like Chipotle salt.
Okay, so it's probably spicy salt.
Chili lime. Tahina's chili lime salt.
Okay. I don't drink margarita. I don't drink pink things, period. And I don't drink margaritas. Never. And
well, that's not very progressive of you, Bob.
This is that I am probably the least progressive member of the actual. That's probably not true. And this, but that's Glenn is on holiday, out in the desert somewhere, just staring at waterfalls in the desert, which I don't know how you do that, but that's fine. Yeah. And drinking margaritas. So he is not here, and we wish him the best. We wish everybody else the best. Everyone feels better, gets back on the show, so the whole crew can have some fun and noodle on some things. And Kimber, good morning.
Good morning.
And got a high or a low, or multiple highs or lows, or no highs or lows?
I don't know. I don't know that I have an exact high today, but I will say that it brings me joy. It brings me joy to just see the internet theorize about things. Like, people who just get on the internet and have opinions must just be like so much fun. I mean, to be fair, I am a person who gets on the internet and has opinions, but some people's thoughts about where the Twitter hack is coming from.
Oh yeah, we'll be getting into that too a little bit. Yeah, I didn't leak that information, but we are going to be covering that topic a little bit too.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm calling it a high.
Yeah, I agree with that. Todd, you are live reporting from South by Southwest, aren't you?
I am.
We have our very own Stormwatch South by Southwest reporter guys here. We have Overwatch. We have come of age. We have people on the ground at South by Southwest giving us the pulse of the
That's
internet.
Right, live from my living room. So so as an Austin resident for decades, it is my cultural duty to hate South by. I hate everything about it. Even though it brings in like $2 billion.
Really?
It's like, I don't think it's quite $2 billion. I think it's like 1.8. But something along those lines, right? So it brings in just a complete boatload of money.
It's all that crypto money.
It's all crypto. It's the quantum AI, military grade, whatever, right? So, but I'm speaking at South by, so I guess that's a high and a low because I actually do have to do prep work today because I'm speaking tomorrow. So if you're in Austin and you want to come watch me blather about exploited vulnerabilities, who would have thunk it? I'll be at the Hilton Salon J tomorrow at 4 p.m. Austin time. So that is also a high and a low. But I would say my main high was early this week. The Creative Commons people, Wikimedia people, and Fediverse people have been running events since like Friday. And cool. And it's been pretty dope. My friend Evan Prodromou is kind of a mucky muck in open things. He was a co-creator of ActivityBub, and he was staying in this very room up until this morning. And so I went to the Creative Commons event. I think was so far my favorite right now. I got to meet Audrey Tang, who was the first. She was the first director of the Ministry of Digital Affairs in Taiwan, and she's pretty dope. Turns out, and we have been chatting since. So, all my name dropping is a high for me.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun when those things come to town, though, because it's like a family reunion.
Yeah, for sure. And these are all like anti-corporate hippies, and I'm like, I'm here selling product, boy.
So I have, I think it's 3. I'll at least start with the 2 that I directly remember. This long COVID fog's great. First of all, it's gonna be 65 degrees today here in Maine. It's officially shorts weather back in Maine. I am so stoked about that. It's the best. Anything about 32 generally is that, but 65, I might even go for a bike ride today. I know. Second one is the eclipse coming this week. Everybody, there's an eclipse coming this week. Get your glasses out. Go look at the cool thing. It's gonna be a pretty cool one. Everyone should do that. And dang it, I know I was gonna forget one of them. I knew it. I was gonna forget, but those are 2 really good ones. Like I'm an eclipse nerd. I got like eclipses. I won't go stare at the sun like everybody else does, but I love the lunar eclipse things that we're gonna go see. It's gonna be nice red moon, and it's gonna be really kind of nice. So yeah, like there's good stuff going. Despite everything, there's some good stuff happening out there. It's pretty neat. Overwatch, you got anything for us today? Up or down? The highs, no lows. It's good to be even keeled. The Overwatch is always even keeled unless she's yelling at me, which is good. So that is fine. I have to really we have let me do this real quick, and then I have to jury rig some stuff for a second. We have a podcast, you know that because you're actually listening, and just please go down here and fill out the subscribe thing. It will make Overwatch's day. That might even be a high next week, but for Overwatch, if you do go fill that out, because that would be pretty cool if she did that. And I'm going to pull up. We'll see if this actually works.
Leave a 5-star rating if you listen to it on a podcast app that has ratings.
Look at that. Look at that. I managed to seamlessly get the polls up. This is pretty cool. And I know what the third one is. That's sort of politically charged, but I have an op-ed about Susan Collins going in the Portland Press Herald on Friday. That was the third one. So
really?
Anyway.
Yes. That is a high. Fun, spicy.
Yeah,
I mean, has opinions.
I'm gonna get rated. It's fine. It's important. So Jordan was really quick yesterday to get a poll up on the platforms, and we got responses. This is great, Jordan. Thank you so much. And you guys I never know which is which, guys. So the right, it's got to be Twitter, right? All the way on the right, is that Twitter? Is it or whatever? It's amazing that people could respond yesterday, as we'll find out in a minute. So where do you get the most actionable threat intel according to Zitter denizens? The security community, like Reddit, etc. ISAC's second, and then tied for third is vendor services and gov agencies. The Fediverse looks like they get it from the community, with ISACs being second, and then gov third, and then vendor services.
No one trusts the vendors.
I just want to dunk on the LinkedIn people for a second.
Okay, and then LinkedIn. Wow. Holy cow, LinkedIn.
No preference.
They're so they were so reserved that it's like across the board, 25% margin of error.
Well, just the fact that vendor services manages to be that high on LinkedIn really says a lot about the LinkedIn.
Yeah, it didn't even get above 20 on any of the other platforms. It was 7% on the Fediverse and 16% on Zitter. So this is, well, what do you expect on LinkedIn? That's all they do is pay suits to tell them things so they can do things wrong. So
I would think that the Isaacs would have been a little bit higher, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe nobody on LinkedIn knows about Isaacs and private sharing groups.
I have never heard them called Isaacs, and I'm going to call them that from now on because that's a great offensive way to refer to it.
It's the bartender from Love Boats.
Yeah. Wow, Todd, we have just dated ourselves with that reference, by the way. Since
I have no idea what either of you are talking.
Yeah, I know that. I know that, you young people out there. It's great. I am glad to see that there's and as well, because we're going to get into this today. So shockingly, the poll was related to what we're covering today. Because we're going to get covered. Like, where are you going to go for freshly baked threat intel? Like, where are we going to go for that steaming hot mug of threat intel in the future? So it's going to be a great little conversation that we're going to have today. So I need to figure out how to remove that without killing everything else. Let me do that. I'm almost got this platform figured out. It's been there. So I'm not providing a link to my personal blog post because that's not what we do here. But I do have one. I'm not going to show the screen either. I just want to briefly speak about the Twitter DDoS yesterday, because some rich idiot is saying that Ukraine hacked them, and that's not the case. I mean, I don't think we're going to know anything for sure, but a pro-Palestinian hack website. If you don't know, because you don't live on Zitter, because I wouldn't know. I actually had to ask people if the DDoS was true, because I don't go to the thing. It was 3 waves of DDoS attack at 6 a.m. Eastern. It's around 10 a.m. Eastern, and then at 11. And it basically, like, lots of people reported something's not great. They kept getting things. It was working for some folks out there. Xcancel was able to get to it as well too. If you don't know about Xcancel, you can read Twitter things without having to give Elon eyeballs and money. If you just put cancel after the letter X, and you can read any post on there. And a pro-Palestinian hacking group called Darkstorm Team, they claimed responsibility for it on their Telegram channel. If you are aware of the Twitterverse, Xitterverse, whatever, there's a dude there called Ed Cranestein, and we're not going to go into who that is, but he claims to have actually talked to them and said to confirm that's what it was there. They are calling the Darkstorm people are calling Elon Musk a liar, saying it was actually them. And it was one of your traditional DDoS things out there, and they stuck Cloudflare in front of it because Cloudflare protects Nazis, and that's a pretty good thing. Like that, they had a DDoS yesterday. So you guys have conflict. Do you have, Kimber? You had some alternative facts about this.
I wouldn't necessarily say alternative facts, but a few different interesting things are happening here. And I think also something that somebody pointed out to me that I find very fascinating is that usually when these DDoSes happen, we can expect some sort of instant response blog post from a large corporation talking about how they mitigated the threat and what they found the threat to be.
How did they swoop in and save the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, we will not necessarily get a reliable narrative.
Do you know how hard it is to blog on ketamine? Do you have any idea how hard it is to blog on ketamine?
It's hard to do anything on ketamine, Bob.
I wouldn't know, guys.
But because of the nature of botnets and the switching and everything, the thing that emerged yesterday that I'm going to be watching to see how it evolves is the Operation Dreadnought stuff. And the claims that Anonymous is now in the fight against all of this. Because
right. Well, about time.
Yeah, seriously.
Right. I don't think that we've really heard from anybody claiming to be anonymous in a minute. And that all those screenshots were circulating yesterday of the web page that has some, I don't know, general manifesto, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Operation Dreadnought. So that's why I'm surprised to see the Darkstorm link when Anonymous is like also hopping in the fight, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Things are going to get weird.
Going to get weird.
I am not advocating for crime. I am not advocating for violating.
Because it's not Zoom. If we were doing the podcast over Zoom, he totally would be, but we're not, so it's okay.
I don't suggest anyone do that, but it is shocking to me that we're here in March and there isn't just rampant like American-born hacktivism. Like, we can't rely on these K-pop kids forever to take care of our stuff. Like, you know, like, it is shot. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not putting an opinion out there.
It is odd. No, you're not wrong. It is odd, especially since like there's nobody. Well, we'll talk about this in a minute, but especially since the likelihood of there being decent oversight of that in the government right now is pretty. Is
Punk dead?
I think it may be.
It's very like it's very baby's first internet to just look at the origination of the IP addresses and say that that's who's attacking you.
Yeah.
So like, oh, Ukraine IP addresses. I wonder how many of those IP addresses were Ukrainian, given the fact that Ukraine barely has any fucking internet right now. Yeah. Like, how could think with your logic brain, right. Like just a little bit.
The whole purpose of a DDoS attack is I marshal a bunch of assets that aren't mine, right. And I make them go do the one thing, right? Like that's how DDoS works. That's the first D in DDoS is the distributed part. It's not like they're out buying machines and then doing it, right?
The big internet pipelines are what's needed to take down such a robust service like Twitter, right? You know? So truly, if the 5 Ukrainian IP addresses that are running through the satellite internet, you know, can take down Twitter,
that says more about Twitter.
Yeah, platform is doomed. So I just had so much fun looking at all the opinions yesterday on what was going on there.
Good times. Good times.
All
right, so about our efforts that go into federal prison. So if you haven't been watching the internets, there's a little turbulence, to put it mildly, happening in the US federal gov space. And we saw this post. I mean, a ton of people saw this post on Reddit last week. And I mean, Todd honed in on a particular word because it's hilarious. And I love the way that the poster actually phrased it. Are they still called Redditors? Because I don't do the Reddit thing.
Sure.
A lot. Is that still a thing?
Yeah,
okay.
Why not?
With CISA going down the gurgler, where do we look for unbiased, accurate information about known exploited vulnerabilities and the threat landscape? Before we start this discussion, I would like to point to Vulncheck. And I'm just gonna mention really quickly that while we do monitor Kev still at Gray Noise, I monitor Kev through the Vulncheck Kev, which has more vulnerabilities than Kev does, and I trust Vulncheck, and I'll just leave it at that. I won't. Yeah. There's a ... after that. That'll just leave alone. So I now look to you all, Kimber, as the source of truth for known exploited vulnerabilities on the internet, and I completely ignore a certain other thing now.
I'm just a moment of shameless self-promotion, which is we have a Kev. You do have to create an account to view it, but one of the nice
it's free. It's free.
Yes, it's free. Free account, but you get the reference of where we found the thing. So if it's a advisory that says there was active exploitation, we like point to that. So there's other places that do it, but I'm on here, so I'm gonna hype the Vulncheck one.
And just before we continue, one of the folks that is on leave for a while from the podcast just wanted us to encourage both you and Todd to keep preaching, because we need to explaining more about the details about botnets. No one knows that. And they also love the baby's first internet thing. It's great. So you guys, I'm not saying who, because there's a bunch of people out here. But that individual, we missed them, and we already said that. But that was, I had to mention that because that's a pretty epic comment. So this is a good thread on the Reddit thing. We're not going to cover the thread.
I love the term the gurgler. Also.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that is in my vernacular from now on, because that's what it is. Definitely read that though. And
that this poster is not American, by the way. Like that's not.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do that.
Feels like a Canadian or a UK.
UK. Yeah, I just assumed it was a UK person. Yeah. The one thing I will say is there's a community forming around maybe how to provide a more, like, to basically do what we saw in the poll, like have a more community-driven oriented threat intelligence sharing thing that is not tied to a vendor or whatever. You can hit me up on Mastodon if you don't know what my handles are there. That's bad. And I can get you into contact with the group because I'm part of the group. I'm not going to mention the names, but you can hit me up and I'll make sure that we get you connected with folks there because it's pretty good. But we're not here to talk about that, at least completely right now. What we are here to do is
hey, can I talk about the burglar thing for like?
All right, go talk about the. Oh yeah, I mean, since you were there. All right, since you were there, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, that's the other elephant in the room.
Burglar gate here.
How does not an elephant stop that? That's mean.
I will say categorically, CISA Kev is still as solid as it was on January 19th. It is still a unbiased source of truth for exploits. It is not as comprehensive as Vulncheck's Kev, because it's hard to do this kind of thing, and Vulncheck is good at it, and Kev is good at it, and Kev and Vulncheck have different goals for their known exploited vulnerabilities list, right? But I would say today, and like I guess I need like a canary site, right? Is the Kev still good.com? and one day maybe it'll change, but like as of today, it's like I know all the people who are working on it still, and they are still working there, and they're still doing their jobs. CISA is a 3,000 person organization so far. I think they've lost maybe under 200, I think, since January.
It's about 250, yeah, I think.
That's good to put it in perspective. I don't think people realize that that's how many people work there.
It is, and CISA does a lot, and not just Kev, and not just like election security, but like a bunch of other stuff, right? They do
and actually to put it there, like
and red teaming on demand for like state governments, and just like a million other things. Like they do all the cybers.
The focus of IRE for the administration was to get rid of the election security component of CAB. That was of CISA. That was their primary goal, because they don't like election security. So,
So yes, you will see news stories about CISA hit with like massive cuts from Doge, but like so far, none of that is in like the vulnerability management subdivision.
There would have to be a lot dismantled in order for Kev to become irrelevant, because I think a lot about the Kev due dates that are published on things, and how much some of the OT industry uses that as guidance, and not even necessarily the OT industry, but like everything government is also tied to that based upon, what's the regulation? There's some sort of...
It's Binding Operational Directive 2201, Kimber.
Yep.
That's the thing that says federal
Todd has that tattooed in places we're not allowed to see.
So you would have to dismantle the bod before dismantling the organization, which
if you get rid of the bod, you get rid of the Kev, right? The bod is the enabling, document that makes Kev go. So.
Yeah. Government, as it turns out, has a lot of different checks and balances to it, almost as if they built it that way.
And almost as if there was like a T-Bot Dome scandal that made everyone like double check all their work, and, like in the 19th century, because it's a very old organization. If you want, there's also a secondary source for real government Kev stuff, and that is github.com/sysagov/kev-data, and that is a GitHub mirror of Kev. Comes with an audit log, so if something starts getting hinky in there, you can check the commit logs and notice it. So
that's one of the very fun things that I think has been born of all of this, is everybody learning how to audit, because the government is very audit heavy. And all this stuff is generally recorded somewhere. So we've got backups on backups.
We do. So we came here to primarily talk about Kim's editors. If you don't subscribe to 0 Day, like subscribe to 0 Day. Like you can't be in cyber and not subscribe to 0 Day people. I don't know what's wrong with you. And this has been an excellent piece that Kim does update over time as new information comes in. Did Trump administration order U.S. Cyber Command and CISA to stand down on Russia? Todd, did they?
Well, what is the rule about headlines with question marks? The rule is the answer is always no. And this is no exception. Kim has done, Kim's editor, and this is, I think, on her own. Yeah, this is her own website.
She's an independent journalist. She's amazing.
Freelancer, and she has done the Lord's work here in like untangling the many news stories about Cyber Command and CISA. Some outlets were just like conflating them, that they're the same thing. They're not. They're very different. Cyber Command is very offensive. They're Department of Defense. They run out of the Pentagon, and they plan operations, and planning takes months. Whereas CISA is very defensive and very reactive, right? Like that's the purpose. That's the whole point. So as far as I know, and I'm just a guy who knows people. There is no stand down order in CISA. And I know very few people, possibly one in Cyber Command, and I haven't heard anything either way from them. So like I can't personally do it, but like I very much trust Kim's reporting on this, where like
and I think
and the like China has been like the #1 priority for the US government for like the last 5 years at least, right? And Russia's a distant second, right? They're not nearly as capable as a cyber peer to the US just in general. And so when it's not like there's like, oh, that's a Russian op, we're not going to like deal with it. Like that's not the case, right? It's like they just don't often see Russian ops to the cadence that we see Chinese ops.
Yeah, and as you've been saying for the past couple, like since this whole thing started, what the whole like Cybercom and CISA are two different things, and it's good. This was the first thing that did the first story that I saw that did a great job separating that. She did a phenomenal job making sure you understood the takeaway that they are completely separate entities and they have different.
Do the ponies have a category for journalism, like a pony Pulitzer?
But they better. I mean, seriously.
I'm going to talk to the SummerCon people and find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell Ian. The amount of people who I had to educate about Cyber Command and CISA being different things. Quite interesting.
And if you read the articles, I think generally are probably accurate. It's just the headlines people only read headlines, right? And so they see that and then they just kind of extrapolate. It's like, oh, we're just giving a pass to Russia for everything. It's like that's not the case.
Very much not the case. But there's a quote that I am consistently reminded of, which is that you should be looking for reporting that reports the facts and doesn't report the opinion. And then I feel like there needs to be an addendum, and then you should be looking for reporting that doesn't sensationalize a headline. But that's becoming increasingly more difficult to find, given that every single thing is more crazy than the next thing, and to get the readership, you have to continue to hype the things. And
your major media outlets are all captured by oligarchs, and your minor media outlets are captured by ad tech.
Yeah. So it's very, very difficult to find the ground level truth. And I feel like we're going to be finding it more on our trusted sources of like what we consider like good journalism.
And like, I personally know the journalist is not a solution that scales.
Yeah. So, and also good journalism is reliant on these people maintaining their connections to how all of this stuff works.
You know, as you say that, Kimber, I'm thinking that we should spend a couple of weeks, jot down all the other ones like Kim, like I think Zach Whitaker's TechCrunch stuff, and there's a bunch, and Judd Legum's there's a bunch of ones that are really good indies that we should probably maybe do a part of a segment on or whatever, just to give people some resources to use down the pike.
And I think that like in the background of cybersecurity, there are trusted journalists in cybersecurity, and they are very well embedded into all of the trust groups. And I think that says a lot about their reporting and their expertise. So, I mean, it's like that in any industry, right? So who do you trust becomes a big thing now.
Well, we have more Gov stuff. So people might remember
even more Gov stuff.
This is all Gov all the time, and I think we're doing a really good job still not going overboard. We mentioned this last year. We mentioned it somewhat occasionally. One of the things that I was personally excited about and professionally excited about that CISA was working with various groups to try to have a mandatory incident reporting for any material incident that an organization had. And there was like 72 hours you have to then provide information if you have a material thing on that. It's still working all the kinks in those things. And now there's a whole group of financial organizations that are trying to take advantage of the fragile atmosphere that we have right now in the government to nix this requirement. Just say we don't want to do this where businesses will pay. I was about to be bad. I'm not gonna be bad. Well, we just don't want this. And so I got a couple of things on this one. Like my first reaction was figures that you try to sneak away from this. But and like I'm really like I'm this may sound snarky, but I'm actually really serious. I know we all just said like CISA is still good, and like I will take Todd's word for it. I will take that's you should all take Todd's word for it too, because like he's right. He is right. If I was running an org again, like I would be very uncomfortable providing incident details to the federal government right now, just knowing that it might not stay there, because there's heads of departments that are very friendly with terrible foreign nationals, and there's heads of agencies that are that they're very potential for that to be a direct line, because we have people that are just traipsing through databases with administrator access that can do anything with that data, because we don't know what's happening there. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And like, what do you guys think about like I really liked that there was going to be mandatory reporting for this stuff, despite how ineffective it might have ultimately been, but it would have been at least trying. And now it's like, okay, these guys don't want it, and is it really a good idea to be given this kind of that they weren't already giving it to the government? Is it a good idea to do that? What do you guys think about that?
Is this the one that says no more 8Ks have to be filed, or Ks?
No, so this is separate. So the 8Ks are under the SEC guidance,
Right.
and that's a separate thing for just public companies. This is for all organizations. I believe there is a size of it, because like it has to be a material thing and affect stuff, because it doesn't need to be public. It just needs to be material to the organization.
Right. It doesn't have to be a publicly traded company. So it's the everybody else catch-all.
Why report incident when incident make money line go down? Money line go down. It's bad.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed, Kimber, but Moneyline been going down pretty.
Oh man, Moneyline's been going down so bad.
Yeah. I'm with you, Bob. I love transparency and openness about vulnerabilities and breaches and all that jazz. I think it makes everybody better and stronger. I will walk right up to the line of making people do it. And that's just me, right? Like, there is a place on Earth where the government makes you report bugs, and that place is called the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
And they definitely seem to be, well, I won't say definitely, they very much seem to be using those kinds of like internal reports of like, hey, we had a breach and this was a bug or whatever, and then turning around and using that offensively. Yep. And that's not a model that we do in America or Western Europe? ?
No, they don't yet. They don't yet.
So, and that's like, I don't know, it's weird to like, of course, financial group asks de facto regulator to stop regulating is yes, right. And since it doesn't ultimately have regulation powers anyway, they're never been enabled by Congress to do that. So like,
that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Like they can't make regulations. They can only offer advisories, right?
Yep. They offer advice. They do binding operational directives, right? They can do things at the government. Like that's not a regulation, but like they can make rules for other government agencies, but very rarely can they, like, when push comes to shove, like it wouldn't be hard to like go to court, right? And say like, actually, CISA can't make us do this.
You need to come to the hackerspace in Salt Lake and teach a class on how cybersecurity works in the government. And then I'll just stream it to everybody, because I feel like I don't even entirely understand it. And I like work with a lot of these groups, right? Because that is a pretty important factor when taking in some of this news of like, CISA can only tell people how to act. They can't like
make suggestions.
They can't hold people to the law. It has to be a financial regulatory body that does that, or some kind of very big court.
It'll be somebody like FTC, right, for private companies, or SEC for public companies, and
which
sometimes both. And a bunch of state stuff, right? Like the New York Federal Trade Commission is like, or the New York Trade Commission, sorry, is itself like crazy powerful. And so if you like doing business in New York, you have to play nice with the New York Trade Commission.
And more importantly, like those things are both tied to finances. They're not tied to cybersecurity. So
the other question I had is, does this rule even, like, let's say the rule stays in effect, does it even matter anymore? I mean, we're gonna briefly talk about the major telecom hack, and like I know every third show we say this, but so much stuff has been breached already. Does it even matter anymore?
Yes. I will
why?
Emphatic yes. Like, because security
I will
is possible.
No.
reasonable security as possible to do, right? We're not already shot through with everything. Like the internet's not crashing all the time. It's in fact kind of hard to crash something, lame like Twitter, right? So like the proof is there. Like we can see that the internet is barely working all of the time, which tells me that we're doing just enough security most of the time.
I'm
Kimberly,
saying no to
you're in
bully
opposition,
everybody into being better. No, it doesn't matter. It's pointless. I'm taking the nihilism.
Yeah. Also, there are no laws. There are just cops, etc. Right? Like,
if you want to get a little bleak about it, I'll be over here being bleak because, like, clearly it doesn't matter to people. Otherwise, they would get good. Like, so
I maintain that they are good, but good enough.
I think there's good people out there.
Yes, there are good people. Yes, let's go from first principles. So, as you know, St. Thomas Aquinas says.
We can turn this into philosophy chat.
Yes.
So we're going to go back from philosophy into some reality, and I have this up. I'm not going to read this. This is some of this but I want to bring it up as an example of an advisory council you probably didn't know existed, or maybe some readers or some listeners did not know existed. I have this up because I want to read something that Politico wrote the other day, and like I linked to it, but this is the pay for Politico, so most people aren't gonna be able to do that. So the thing goes: more cuts. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem last week signed an order directing an end to 8 federal advisory committees focused on cybersecurity, AI, and like this was theoretical before. We did mention this on a thing, but it's actually done now. So I just wanted to go through it one more time. The order says the Homeland Security Academic Partnership Council, the Tribal Homeland Security Advisory Council, the Artificial Intelligence Safety and Security Board, the Public-Private Analytic Exchange Program, the Homeland Security Science and Technology Advisory Committee, the Data Privacy and Integrity Advisory Committee, and this one, the Critical Infrastructure Partnership and Advisory Council, and also the Cyber Investigations Advisory Board, but we knew that. And this was basically this was ordered down from on high. So Noem just implemented something that she was told to implement. And it is confirmed, it's a thing. And they, this comes weeks after a whole bunch of other committees, including the Cyber Safety Review Board. Like this is just continuing the erosion of having folks from outside of Gov provide insight and expertise. Because that's say what I might about the Cyber Safety Review Board's effectiveness, and that's just because of the way things get implemented post that. There were some really smart, brilliant people on there that were providing really good information and analysis on things, and we have now removed all of that because we want to make Gov more efficient. Now, and I don't know if that's going to make Gov more efficient at all.
So the former Fed insider take on this is nobody lost their job, or very few probably lost their job after this. And by loss of job, I mean illegally terminated. And what this actually is, so the way I read this is that a whole bunch of meetings got canceled, but the people still know each other. So it is creating some more shadowy darkness of like people who want to do the right thing will continue to do the right thing. They just won't be doing it under the aegis of these meetings. That's my and I don't know most of these groups, right? So this is huge. This has got like a little less now, 3,000 minus a few lately, a couple hundred lately. But there's a lot of people who do work in CISA. CISA does a lot of things. These working groups and councils were pretty much like Teams calls to talk about a paper to write, to put a position together, to like get good ideas out there, right? Like again, like I said before, right? Like CISA is not a regulatory agency, and so the kind of work they do is kind of thought thinker work, and that's not to denigrate it at all. Like you need people doing that, and having that, like what it actually does is like remove a real and official like bridge from private industry, independent researchers, academia, and the government. Like it removes that forum, but those people still exist. So if the work is important, it'll keep getting done. That's
that optimistic view is that no that was
it's important.
That shred of optimism was really good, and like the fact that there will be smart people talking to smart people. And smart CISA people talking to smart non-CISA people. That's good. That needed to be said. I didn't even think about it that way. And you're absolutely right. That will continue to happen. So I'm a little less unhopeful now. Thank you, Todd.
Whoa. I did it.
Also, this council, their charter had been renewed just in September. So that assumes that it was being useful.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what the purpose is. I suppose it's to like government efficiency and wasting hours on meetings and stuff. But like, well, okay, cool. Now you've built a backdoor. Like you've built a back channel that's going to be even less efficient. Awesome. Good
Actually,
job.
I'll take this down for so I mean, okay, so not to depress everybody again. I think so. Probably that's the efficient part. Like, just go do your government jobs. Don't waste time in meetings. Fine, maybe optimist. Yeah. This removes the direct, visible public oversight, and well, they won't do oversight, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Well.
And the foiable nature of it, right?
Yeah, foiable nature, and also something that was ultimately like born of the post 9/11 National Security Acts.
Yeah.
That's like where it originated.
Where you get people working together, right? Like, I mean, because like stuff like that is kind of how like NIST and CISA get together and talk about things like how to tell how serious a vulnerability is, right? Like that's the kind of thing that these kinds of groups do, for example.
So I want to, this is the last, well, I guess technically, since we're talking about a soldier in the next one, it's not the last gov thing. The last gov thing, though, really briefly, and this is more of a, like, it's a nice gesture maybe, but so OPM, Office of Personnel Management, who is head up by a Trump appointee now. I just need to say that because that's context. There's a watchdog group inside there that does investigations. Like OPM did things before, like good things before anyway. And they are now, there's a whole, dare I say, task force that is tied to now looking at the IT risks associated with the Department of Government Efficiency's agency access, the systems they've gotten access to, the data they're touching and mucking around with, and all that kind of stuff out there. I don't know if you need to do a whole lot of blather about this, but I guess maybe the question I want to ask you guys is this just like an overt gesture just to get the media off their backs, or is this going to maybe do some good, or is it just like whatever, a Potemkin village?
I mean, I'm shocked I tell you to find gambling going on in this establishment.
feeling a little good luck, everybody.
Good luck, America. Good luck, America, on that one.
I don't know, like who's actually doing it? I'm just like kind of scared. I'm very ill prepared for this part of the show.
Don't worry about that. I surprised you guys with this one. Yeah.
No. This is from, well, apparently OPM still has an inspector general's office, and so they are independent. So
they'll get fired soon. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Like so many other agencies have lost their inspectors general. So
but OPM has maintained theirs despite
they somehow have one still.
They must have been very like compliant with everything.
Oh, you think? Yeah, they are the face of the illegal terminations across the federal government right now.
Yeah. Right.
They're also the place where all those 5 bullet points go to every week too. So yeah.
Right. Well,
recap what OPM is for the people.
Oh, yes. OPM is Office of Personnel Management, and it is basically the federal government's HR office for hiring and like HR paperwork, like where your benefits go and like what, how to do retirement saving and stuff like that. Right. So, and it was established in 1975, I want to say. It was like a Carter administration thing.
They also just maybe mentioned the hack too, like that they had a little while ago.
That was OMB, different.
That's right. You're right. I'm sorry about that. Yeah,
was the OMB hack.
But if you follow federal holidays at your job, OPM is the people who set those.
Yes. Yeah. So OPM, up until January 22nd of this year, was a force of good. And they still have an inspector general, so good job. And this is a letter from Inspector General Norbert Vint.
What a name.
Maybe we shouldn't name it. Well,
that's like the perfect first name for an inspector general.
Yes. Hello, I'm Inspector Norbert. I am positive he is a badass. Because if he's managed to keep an inspector general job
seriously,
in this environment, then like that's some pretty good politicking probably on his part. A lot of give and take there.
The other thing I'll just throw at this is now, like you everybody, if you're not following everything, it's hard to, but there's been a little bit of a kerfuffle between all of the agency appointee heads and the Doge folk and Musk in particular, and like they stood him down, dressed him down the other day. He actually had to put real clothes on, and like in that context, because there's formality associated with some of the things there, I guess. And they said, hey, you're in charge of your department, it's not him. This could all be because they want to have an actual, hey, they were hacking things, we need to get rid of, like, this might be a way for them to collect whatever evidence so that they have a better justification for getting rid of Doge, if they want to get rid of Doge, if they have to throw them under a bus politically. So,
well, I thought it was very interesting that Doge started in OPM. Like, that's where everything really like originated from. And in order to like do that, you have to have at least kind of an understanding of how OPM ties into everything government wise.
I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty naive to me because OPM is only HR. Like, they don't actually have hiring and firing powers. They just they like collate resumes. You know?
Yeah, no, like seriously.
And there's a lot. There's millions.
But they have everybody's pay.
They manage the pay. Pay is actually handled by Department of Agriculture. My pay was always handled by Department of Agriculture. So like, I'm just a bold farmer.
Farmer Todd. I didn't know that.
I've always said I wanted to be a farmer. Maybe I should just go to CISA.
All right, we're gonna briefly just do an update on this story. So, if you remember, there were hacking incidents back they came up last year. They go back a lot of years. It was a coordinated effort to infiltrate the telecom networks across multiple countries, targeted sensitive systems within the major carriers. They got customer data. They actually took down a lot of operational security, or infected a bunch of operational security, and they may have even gotten into some national infrastructure. They were really, really high value targets. So a soldier he hasn't said, yes, I'm going to do it, but he's indicated he is going to come clean that he was the one that exploited vulnerabilities in these networks. He had lots of tools at his disposal for those things. And this is a huge scale. And like, having someone that's had a lot of professional training doing it makes a lot of sense that they would try to recruit or have someone to actually go do that. Yeah. And so U.S. military, personnel involved in this. And like, we have lots of, like, we just heard, like, there's insider threats within the government affiliated organizations now. And like, what's happening with all this like sensitive information out there. So I'm curious, did you find it surprising that we actually got to a suspect and the suspect was this involved in the government? And just, I mean, we're getting more closure on it than we had before, or is this just throwing somebody under a bus because they need to throw somebody under a bus?
I don't think he's a patsy.
No.
Like,
no, definitely not. If you have a hacker name, you're not a patsy.
Right.
Like, they have this guy's.
And he's not convicted yet, right?
No, he's not. No. He still hasn't said he's going to admit hacking. He intends to. He hasn't done it yet. He intends to admit the hacking.
Right. I mean, total gossip and speculation is, I saw one article about how I think the FBI got a hold of his search history at one point, and one of the search terms was is hacking the US.
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna get hanged for this? But that'll come up in court.
Is it treason?
Is this treason or not? All right. So we do not have anybody from Census cough. I know someone's listening. To go through their blogs. The one I will just thank them for first. They did an amazing Census point of view on a report that we just released. I think the webinar is the 24th of this month. If you want to tune in to hear me and Morris and I forget who's on a blather about what we found. They did that. I really appreciated their take on the report and the nice things they said about it. So thank you. We did not pay them for that. It was good. And the next one, Kimber has feels about the next one because Aiden, who's my hero still at Census because of his little AI thing that turns my crappy English into pristine census queries that actually work. So I love that census bot. I use it at least twice a week. And the title of this one's Highway Robbery 2.0, How Attackers Are Exploiting Toll Systems in Phishing Scams. And, you know, Kimber, we were talking before the show, you and I have both received lots and lots of texts from people saying, is this legit? What do I do? Because so you had a really good reaction to it. So I'd like you to maybe talk a bit about that.
Basically, my reaction to this is it is absolutely mind-blowing how many people are receiving these texts and like the volume of them per day. And it comes from various states. So it's not necessarily like I live in Texas, I'm only getting Texas toll scams. It's like Massachusetts, Texas, California, Illinois, all the states with like very robust toll systems that are, I think, linked back to Easy Pay. But in any case, Aiden did
a lot of them are interoperated, right? Like I don't use the Texas. I live in Texas. I don't use the Texas toll tag. I use the Kansas toll tag because it's better.
Oh, fun!
Like strictly, it's better.
Technology-wise, like the website's
really better. The billing cycle is better. Like everything, like it's just like 10 years more modern than like the dumpy old.
Oh wow.
Texas. Yeah.
Wow. So I have a running joke with myself that I try and see how many toll bills I can rack up every year because I regularly do a lap around the United States for the past 4 years, and Texas is always the worst. Yeah. So at first, when I was getting these things, I was like, I know my tolls are paid, and also this looks like a scam address. So in the tracking of these,
123 Scam Street.
Yeah, it's evolved from like just the basic like sending the scam link from like the 6-digit number, you know, things that really look legitimate, to evolving into getting texted a PDF. So this is a really good enumeration of all of that stuff. I don't think it's on the level where you can send it to like your mom who's worried about getting these texts,
right?
But like it'll at least educate you on the fact that like
confidence to talk to your father-in-law.
Exactly. You're not special. It's happening to everyone. Yeah. Good job.
Be careful out there. Be careful out there, buddy.
Yes.
Let's get this up right here. My mouse is acting up. That's why it's slow.
Todd,
I had a question about yours. So, and my question about this is, we at Gray Noise noticed this Edimax IP camera alert come through one of the other things CISA does, which is do industrial control systems related advisories. That's a great resource for. I mean, it's still. I guess I'm taking Todd's word. That means it's still a good resource. And this now we had a little spat about this before the show, so I want to do a spat on show. So we caught it. Now normally, like, it's like this thing, it's a simple, like it's in theory a simple exploit, and it's an on-off one, and we excel at maybe writing tags for those kinds of things. And it didn't come in through Kev, so I didn't notice it. But I also watched this other site, so I caught it, and like it's in our queue, but we don't have any payloads to work from, so we can't write a tag for it. But so my thing was, A, like, do you have any more information on this particular thing? And B, explain to people why this wasn't or shouldn't be Kevable or shouldn't be on Kev.
Sure. So this is the Edimax IP camera, something or other, right? Like remote
IC 7100 network camera.
Yeah. And this was an ICS alert. CISA actually wrote the CVE for it. And yet it's not on the Kev. So, and like ICS is saying exploited, right? And so that sounds weird. First and foremost, the main reason why it's not on the Kev today, as far as I know, is because there's no patch available for it.
Right, no patch.
And the Kev is not a list of vulnerabilities that are exploited, despite the name. Like it should be called like Kev app, known exploited vulnerabilities and patches. Like, because the whole purpose of putting something on the Kev is to get this federal government to patch things, and if there's no patch for it, then there's not a lot you can do. Now, that said, like, you could kind of backdoor it a little bit, because one of the reasonable mitigations is take it off the network, right? And so there's probably still, like, I would imagine today, there's probably still like discussion and debate over like, well, can we please have a patch? Because like, it's a lot easier to patch something than to like take it down and like do new procurement, especially in these days, right? Like if you already have these things around. So there's that. Secondly, if you have evidence, Bob, of active exploitation, please feel free to reach out to your CISA friends and give it to them. Because
I will
sources
have
is better.
Glenn do that the minute he's back. If we do have that, yeah, I will
Right.
do that.
No more watermelon margaritas, Glenn.
From what I've seen on this, and I'm not on the inside at all, and I don't get like secret back channel information or anything. The reporter is almost certainly referring to like honeypot hits and not real victims. And that is another bar that Kev has to pass, right? Like, no, like it has to be a non-consensual attack is how I like to talk about it. So like no honeypots, no pen tests, no red teams.
That's one of the really hard things about shadow server reporting, or like, honestly, sorry, gray noise, but some gray noise reporting is like distinguishing between like real devices and honeypot hits.
Yeah.
Because a real attack can hit honeypots.
Correct.
But it's not technically a real attack because there is no compromise of information.
Yeah. And like you'd lack things like, you know, whatever, all the post-compromise stuff, right?
Artifacts,
like,
all the artifacts.
Yeah. So,
no artifacts.
So those are the two, I would say, to me, like flags on that would make that a slower ad. It'll probably get on there eventually. Effort, like it's a Taiwanese company, and so that's generally okay. And actually, like that's on the pro side, really, because like CISA does care quite a bit about Taiwanese critical infrastructure. And so like getting something on the Kev that affects mostly like a Taiwanese like work site, it would be good for Kev, because I don't know, like there's the American Institute for Technology in Taiwan, which is a huge organization, and I don't know if they have these cameras or not, right? So so it's something that they would want to know about.
Yeah. And I think my mom, actually, I know Kimber knows this, but Tom might not know this. We really soon, like I can't say when that really, okay, soon, probably Q4. So that's soon right now to me. But we are going to have like full on legit real systems capturing these things with all this stuff as well. And all so we're gonna, and kudos to the CISA folks with the Kev folks, because while they do take some of our information about active exploitation very seriously, it is something that they do also wait for legitimate exploitation before they put it out there. So I appreciate the fact that they do that extra level of validation. I'm trying to say nice things.
Don't wait for
right. Oh yeah. You should figure out how
to work around or network segment or whatever, right? Like there's a lot of things you can do with this information, which is why ICS, like this ICS advisory is there. It's just that Kev is not the vehicle for it.
Right. I'm trying to say nice things about Kev the rest of the show. And then we have a couple blogs. There's one coming today. I believe it's gonna be today. So one of our new researchers and content folks, Noah Stone, he's been looking through our data a lot every single day, and I'm teasing for later day to keep a look back at the blog. We'll announce it everywhere. But there was a really interesting swarm of SSRF related attacks the other day. It was a brief one, hit a bunch of places, a whole bunch of different SSR things, and like they added some other things into the mix, and it was just a very set number of things that these sources were doing. It looks like they were trying to do mapping vulnerable backend infrastructure in a lot of places, because basically these things trying to get through. It's a really, really interesting thing, and Noah's done a good job on the write-up, and so you'll see that a little bit later. The other one I wanted to point out is that we beat Kev the other day by 3 things. That we do that regularly. We pant Kev on the regular, and you should take a look at what those were. And then the only other one here, I'll just click it up because I have some pretty graphs. The folks over at Cisco Talos, I mean, the best. I love those folks. They're just so smart and so talented. And they did a really nice write-up of legitimate exploits hitting this PHP-CGI vulnerability, which there's a lot of non-legitimate things hitting this particular thing, because we have a whole blog about it. It's one of those weird vulnerabilities that, like, if you don't do it right, it's not going to happen. You kind of need to know things, but whatever. They did a great job writing up about an attack that actually worked against Japanese targeted systems, and I don't, the long COVID don't sleep, so my spidey sense was kicking off. And it turns out that the same time period they kind of hit over a whole swath of ASPAC systems. ASPAC, they were basically trawling across ASPAC looking for these things. There was another little spike in the UK and India, and Spain and Malaysia for those things. And this February one was really interesting here too, because it just hit a whole swath of things. So if you haven't, I mean, if you're running PHP stuff, just don't. I mean, come on, guys, it's 2025. But I know you have to WordPress. All those
WordPress
things.
is PHP. WordPress powers like 80%.
Yeah,
of
80% of the internet. I know. I don't understand.
Still,
but anyway, like, yeah. So just be aware that this is a thing, and watch for the SSR thing later. And just no, I mean, I know that there was a little bit of a clickbait headline the other day, but Noah's been doing a great job keeping an eye on the internet for everybody. So hopefully we'll be getting some more of these really good content-rich posts out about what's happening in the not too distant future. I believe you said Noogie was coming. Is that what you said, Kimber?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Noah deserves a Noogie for exactly one post. But beyond that, I really do enjoy a writer that is truly unreliant on ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, and it is all bespoke stuff from him.
Yeah.
It's really, and he has a great process for doing these things as well too. I mean, we might need to have him on, or just have him maybe do a blog about his process, because he has a really good research process. That would actually
be really interesting.
Yeah. You know what? Let's.
I'm someone to talk about how to write without ChatGPT. Like,
yeah. No, that'd be great, actually. Yeah, and he's been under the weather. Like everybody in cyber seems to be under the weather at some point. He's been under the weather a lot too. But when he's feeling better, we might want to think about having him on. That'd be cool. And you get just to meet him, even for that matter. People can see one of the new faces at Grey Noise. Yay. And we could say he works for Census, because Census doesn't show up anymore. Oh, that was bad. I'm sorry. So, and I know I'm not being mean. I miss you guys. I just miss you guys.
Mean to Census.
I miss them. I just missed them. It's okay. All right. Any closing thoughts for anybody out there?
I'm gonna echo my earlier call of good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
Learn about the government. I think that that's one of the things that we all have in common, is that we all are very passionate about learning how the government works. Sometimes they're haunted with it. With knowing how the government works.
Yep, sadly.
And that's how we stay so level-headed over here at Stormwatch. Just knowing how the government works.
Cool. Well, Todd, enjoy South by Southwest today, and I hope your talk goes great tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope so too. It'll be super fun. We have costumes. So.
Oh man, I wish I was there.
Take pics. Share pics.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on this week's Stormwatch. Remember, in the world of cybersecurity, there's no such thing as a tolerance for errors. You have to pay attention or you'll get fished. And with CISA facing some serious turbulence, let's hope they can boot and come back stronger than ever. Otherwise, we all might be left feeling a little so this is supposed to be, this is chat Christina. Whatever's take on emotional. So no emotional about the state of our cyber defenses. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant. Take care, everybody.